A quiet, isolated cabin nestled deep within the forest had always been Emily's sanctuary, a place where she could retreat from the noise of the world. But tonight, something felt different. The air was thick, suffocating, and the familiar comfort of the woods had turned into a cage of eerie silence. No owls, no wind, nothing but the sound of her own heartbeat. It was late. The fire in the hearth crackled softly, casting long shadows that danced across the wooden walls. Emily sat on the couch, her book resting on her lap, but her mind wasn't on the story. Something outside the cabin had caught her attention. She glanced toward the window, her eyes narrowing as she focused on the darkness beyond the glass. Suddenly, the floor creaked, as if something, was standing right outside. Emily's heart skipped a beat. She stood up slowly, moving toward the window, trying to peer into the blackness of the night. Her fingers trembled as she pulled back the curtain ever so slightly, but all she could see was her own reflection, and behind it, the empty darkness of the forest. Then, out of nowhere, a figure emerged from the shadows, standing just at the edge of the tree line, barely visible. It was tall, unnaturally still, watching her. The figure didn't move, didn't speak. It just stood there. Panic surged through her. Emily quickly closed the curtain and backed away from the window. Her mind raced. Was it just her imagination? Had the long hours of solitude finally begun to play tricks on her? She tried to convince herself it was nothing, but then came the sound of footsteps, slow, deliberate, crunching on the gravel outside the cabin. Someone, or something, was circling the house. Her pulse quickened. Emily grabbed her phone, but there was no signal. The nearest neighbor was miles away. She was completely alone. Suddenly, a knock echoed from the front door. It was soft, barely audible, but unmistakable. Her breath caught in her throat. She froze, listening as the knock came again, louder this time. Reluctantly, she approached the door, her hands trembling as she reached for the handle. But before she could touch it, the knock stopped. The silence was deafening. She stood there, holding her breath, listening. Then the doorknob turned. Emily gasped and stumbled backward. The door slowly creaked open, revealing nothing but the darkness outside. Her heart raced as she stared into the empty night, her pulse thundering in her ears. The figure at the tree line was gone. She quickly slammed the door shut, locking it, her mind spinning. But then she heard it, the soft whisper of someone, or something, right behind her. "Emily, I've been watching you." She turned around, her blood running cold. The shadows in the room seemed to shift, moving closer to her. Her skin prickled with the sense of being watched. The air grew thick, heavy, pressing down on her chest. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. The whisper grew louder, echoing through the room. "I'm inside now.